Welcome back to the Oh So Spurs podcast. I guess the Oh So International podcast. We are here with our international contingent. We've got
Oh, trying to get a notification. Oh, so Spurs is live.
we've got Drew with us. Hello, Drew. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing very well, guys. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. And we also have Max with us. How you doing, Max?
Doing well. Yeah, glad to be on. I was absent last week, so good to be here.
We were all absent last week because the international break is super boring. And so, yeah, we decided that there wasn't really enough to talk about. Well, there were things to talk about. Obviously, we'll talk about the whole Enoch Levy situation a little bit later, but we aren't financial experts by any stretch of the imagination, so we figured we would leave that to the other members of the OSO Spurs community, or the I guess cinematic universe, if you will, to explain
the
that
OCU, the OSO cinematic universe. That's awesome. Is Jim Thanos? I feel like all he needs to do is click.
He's either Thanos or he's like Captain America. Though I don't think he'd like to be called Captain America. Maybe he can be Captain Britain.
I feel like he's like the Professor X, and it's like the various X-Men.
There we go.
It's a bit of a different set of Marvel, the Marvel universe. But there you go.
That's Jim. That's
brilliant.
Jim. Well, given the name of our podcast being the OSO International Podcast, I would be remiss if we didn't jump into the international break and do a little bit of a review of that, since there's a lot of people playing, and it's good to keep up with everybody to make sure nobody gets injured, see who plays well, see who's done anything of note. And in speaking of doing things of note, I guess the player I want to start talking about is a player that had his name in the news for some less positive reasons recently, which is Matisse Tell. Obviously left out of the Champions League squad, but then came back over international break and scored a ridiculous goal against Serbia. Followed it up with another one, and also captained his side, from what it said in the match replay, which I just finished watching. So did anyone else catch it, or am I allowed to wax lyrical on one of my favorite talents we have at the moment?
No, yeah, I've had it. I saw the goals, and that was about it. So you carry on.
I think that they used him in a really interesting way, because they started him in the middle, but kind of similar to the way that we saw Solanke kind of take up positions on the wing, with under Ange last season. Tell kind of took up similar ones where he was definitely given license to drift wide, some of the times overlapping with Odegaard, who was starting on the left, and I would say more commonly, I guess, going out on the right. I think the thing that makes it interesting about deputizing him, like out there, letting him occupy those spaces, is that generally, I would say, when you have a striker pick up those spaces, like a Gyökeres, for example, he took up those spaces a lot with Arsenal against Leeds, where he would come into those like channels. But he's not gonna take a player on really afterwards, unless they're kind of like he catches them wrong-footed. But Tell was definitely not afraid to run at the player. So he looked like a winger when he was on the wing, which was an interesting way of using him. And he was also fine in the middle. I would say that he was definitely more effective out wide, but using him in the middle is how you get him into those spaces where he's so effective, like on the edge of the 18, like we saw with the goal. And then he almost scored basically the exact same goal from the other side. So he definitely has a finish in him, and I guess it's up to Frank and the rest of the Tottenham setup to figure out how to get him into those positions to, I guess, allow him to finish.
Yeah, I think it was really positive. Obviously his performance and the kind of goals he scored, obviously with that other strike that kind of came off the bar. But I do think that it's almost like that's the kind of goal that we know Tell can score. I still think, regardless of that being a great performance and really a showcase of how strong his mentality is, and, something that increased my confidence in the way he'll come back and, eventually be a crucial part in the team. But he does kind of continue that like take on, cut inside, and then those shots from, I like to call it the elbow to use like a basketball team, but it's like that in the outer intersection of the 18-yard box, right? He loves that shot from there, and it's like he has that dialed in. But I do think that it's something that is pretty defendable, and it's almost like something that we said about Solanke last season is like he needs to improve at scoring the easier goals. He needs to improve at his box movement a little bit and getting those kind of tap in goals that we see Brennan Johnson always somehow getting on the end of. So yeah, there's a lot of room for him to grow, but that doesn't mean I'm not super optimistic, and I'm a big fan of Tell. So I'm really rooting for him, and I had a little bit of a Twitter like beef last week with the UCL matchday squad, with the UCL squad that came out, just because I think we all need to settle down a little bit about his minutes. I think there's plenty of them to go around, and he'll be featuring a lot for us this season. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what I thought was really interesting, I've not actually seen him. Obviously, I've got a small sample size. I've only really seen him play for Spurs. Didn't even really see much from Bayern Munich. But what I did see, most of the time, he's sort of out on the left, drifting in. I thought it was really interesting that he was out on the right-hand side, drifting in on his left, which is his weaker foot. But he's apparently, if you read up on him, like apparently an exceptional talent with both feet. And I think the strike, especially, that wonder strike pretty much proved it. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime for most people, but on your weaker foot as well, I mean, that's something. So I think it'd be quite interesting to see, because I feel like obviously Xavi wants to play, and a lot of the stuff that I've seen Xavi do, it's central drifting out, which is almost the space that Tell was occupying in that game. So I don't know, it's a really nice problem to have. I think a lot of it is down to confidence with him. I think people seem to forget that he's only, I think 19, maybe just
turned 20.
Right. Very little minutes in his legs. Had a really good season the season before with Bayern, but still wasn't. I mean, it wasn't 90 minutes week in, week out. And then he comes to us with little or no minutes in his legs. And, we give Bergvall the benefit of the doubt. You gave him 6 to 8 months to sort of get into it. And the kid was asked to come in at a time where everything was disjointed. We needed a striker. We got a kid left winger who arguably can play as a striker, but regardless, a lot of weight was put on that kid's shoulders to come in and be some sort of savior for our season, and it was never going to happen. And I just think people are so quick to write these kids off. And I just, I don't want to sound like the old man of the group, but you got to give these kids time. Like, some of these kids aren't going to start flourishing until they're 23, 24. And that might be too late for, teams like us, which is fair enough. But just some of the vitriol that gets thrown at him is just unreal. And I think he's under the right manager. He'll be under the right coaching staff. He seems to have taken the being left out of the Champions League squad very, very well. He's got no intention, by the looks of it, certainly by the interview, doesn't want to kick up a fuss. He wants to get his head down and wants to earn his way back into the squad. And he even said that even if he was in the squad, he'd still be getting his head down and working hard. So that's the sort of character I want at Tottenham, so long may it continue. And I just hope that, he gets sprinkled in the squad, he can get some confidence back, he can pop in with a couple of goals, and people maybe start getting off his case.
Just to add one more thing on Tell, I 100% agree with that entire spiel, especially the bit about Bergvall versus Tell. I think the fact that Bergvall came from Djurgården, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but came from the Swedish league, which is a less regarded league, versus Tell coming from Bayern. I think people see that on paper and are like, okay, well, he's going to come in and, this is a better player or Bayern are a better team than Spurs. So he's going to be like our best player now, obviously. Right. And I think it's like, number one, growth isn't linear. And number two, it doesn't mean anything as far as his development, where he's come from. Right. I also wanted to say, I think we saw some promise from him when he came on in the Bournemouth game, because he was kind of playing like a shadow striker, second striker role. If you play him like behind or off the striker, where he doesn't have to necessarily create, but if he was supported by like Xavi, let's say off the left, and was able to kind of ghost in and not have to do all the hold up work that Solanke and Richie do, I think he would actually benefit him greatly, and I do wonder if we see more of him in that position after the Bournemouth game moving forward. I think that would be really exciting. So yeah, I'll get off my pedestal now for a little bit of a pun there.
All right. Well, I think we've definitely talked enough about Matisse Tell, which I mean I'm fine with. I love talking about Tell. I was very excited for him when he came in, and I'm very excited to see how he matures and develops. And I think that he has the correct work ethic and the correct mentality to bring him as far along as he can possibly go. So I'm super excited to see more. But let's talk about the rest of the international, our international contingent. I'm looking at everybody, and I think for what feels like the first time, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I hate the international break for fitness reasons, but it feels like it's the first time in a while we haven't had anyone come back with a knock. Knock on wood. There's nothing we know about. But I've going through all the matches. No one. The only person that missed one for a non-coach related reason was Romero, who missed on yellow card accumulation, and ended up coming back to train at Tottenham earlier than we expected, which was a decision that I don't think a lot of fans would have expected that he would have made. I guess maybe that's based on more like prejudice from stuff that like he's done in the past, and with how we feel he's treated the Tottenham versus Argentina, especially around the World Cup. But I think that does this show? Does this mean anything? Is this just is he embracing his new role as a captain, or is this just Tottenham's got a nice training ground and he wanted to hang around more?
I kind of feel like it's I mean, if we're on it, I genuinely feel like the question marks over him should have been put to bed when he signed the contract. Like, I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that there wasn't a boatload of money put in front of him and said, hey, dude, you've got quite a good situation going on here. This is what we're trying to do. Do you want to sign this bit of paper for a lot of money? I mean, I would do that. And there wasn't really anybody else that was coming calling. I mean, you know, Atleti were flirting with the idea, but I don't think they ever really had any serious money to be able to do anything. So it was in his best interest potentially, although he could have just waited another year and gone on a free had we have, you know. But I think by the by, he signed the contract, and I think that therefore shows the commitment. And I don't know. I think from an Argentinian standpoint, we all understand, or from, you know, South American players, they love playing for their country. They love playing in the cups. So it's just something that for me, I just kind of put a line under it. It's to be expected. But by the same token, be respectful to your club. You know, not necessarily one should come over the other, but be respectful to both of them as and when the respect should be, you know, is required. So, yeah, the fact that he came back, you know, didn't kick up a fuss, came back early. He's on a new contract. He's been training with the team. He looks ready to go. I mean, other than a couple of little rusty bits in the first couple of games, he looks like he's there and ready to go. So for me, I think it's water under the bridge for that one.
Yeah, I think I would pretty much agree. I think that I could imagine a world where the captaincy plays a little bit of a role in him choosing to come back early. But other than that, I don't think. I've kind of always been of the opinion that the speaking of the relationship between Romero and the club has always been, people I feel like have kind of pushed it to be more rocky than it otherwise would be. So yeah, I think it's good that he's coming back, and it's nothing but a positive, but it's also, you know, understandable that he would want to play for his country, because that's kind of what, I mean, these people grow up dreaming of doing. And like, yeah, I mean, especially at the World Cup, like, yeah. Speaking of other, we'll go through the rest of our South American contingent then. Bentancur played 2 90s in a 0-0 draw versus Chile and a 3-0 victory versus Peru, where according to FUTMob he won man of the match. I don't know if that's accurate to the award given out, but that's what I saw. Richarlison was a sub in a 3-0 victory versus Chile, and then a starter, played 60 minutes in a 1-0 loss to Bolivia. And I believe that is everybody who went who from our South American contingent. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting there. It's nice to see Bentancur continuing to play well. Other than that, anyone else have any thoughts on either of them?
Max?
Yeah, I think it's great minutes for Bentancur. It looked like he had some pretty strong, defensive and dueling contributions, specifically in the Peru game. So obviously not the strongest opposition. No offense to Peru, specifically my friend Bijan, who supports Peru. But I think it's great minutes for him to get. I think, this is the first time in a while that we can say we're glad that he's getting minutes, whereas before it was like, please don't play him. He's just come off an ACL. So, yeah, it's good minutes. Richarlison, I think from what I could see, it looked like it was kind of a typical, poor dueling as far as like holding up the ball, and then in that sort of capacity, he kind of ends up fading from the game a little bit, which happens. It's I didn't see those full games because I was in Europe and they were in the middle of the night, but I think it's again good minutes, and great to see that Richarlison especially made it through unscathed. So
yeah, I think that's the most important thing, right? Obviously, we were talking about just before we came on, like the most, and even DJ alluded to it when we started the segment. Like the most important thing is like people seem to have come back unscathed, and that in conjunction with the fact that we have a relatively easy, I don't say easy, we have a nice fixture schedule coming up. So those two being, I don't know, it's very rare that one of those two things align for us. So yeah, it's really nice, and a nice spread of minutes. Bentancur, I'm happy that he got 290s. I said to Max before we came on, the fact that he's missed so much football in the last couple of years. Like I don't mind if he's got it in his legs and he's not reaching like the red zone that the coaches talk about. Then happy days, let him play. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's take I guess I realize I didn't mention Archie Gray when we talked about our under 21s, so I'll go ahead and shout him out. Played 90 minutes versus Kazakhstan. It looked like he played center back.
Yeah,
in a 2-0 victory. Then I'll go. I guess we will go next to Africa, where we had Kudus play 86 minutes and 80 minutes against Chad and Mali, respectively, picking up an assist in the first game in a 1-1 draw, and then I don't know, generally playing like Kudus in a 1-0 win versus Mali. I think for him, it's kind of more of what we've come to expect, I guess, what we kind of see, where he's quite good on the ball, maybe lacking a little bit of end product. But yeah, that, I don't know. I'm very happy, very selfishly, that that he's going to be with us through AFCON this season, because I think that would have been a brutal loss on top of Pap Sarr, who we will talk about in a second. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about Kudus, to be honest. I think he played good.
Kudus doing Kudus, huh?
Yeah,
much. Seriously. One thing on Kudus is watching a little bit back from the games. It's just like, I think it's so underrated how good he is at going back onto his right. You see a lot of players who are pretty left-footed who you kind of know that they're eventually going to come back onto the left side, but he's so good at going all the way down to the byline and really committing players to his left side. And yeah, we've seen it for Spurs already, but I think he did that for the assist, or maybe it was just I'm forgetting, to be honest. But yeah, Kudus doing Kudus, as you say, Drew.
All right, and then we saw Pap Sarr. I don't necessarily know if it would be being Pap Sarr, because I don't necessarily associate him with this, but he had two fantastic finishes in his two games, one of which he played as a sub and one he started. So he got about 90 minutes total, which is always good to keep our midfield nice and rested. But yeah, two brilliant goals I'd love to see, especially with having a creator like Xavi Simons in the team, if we can, that'll allow Sar, if he plays with like Bentancur or Palhinha at the base of the midfield, to come in, to get into more of those kinds of positions where he can then use his apparently great finishing to tack on some more goals. I know he's already scored a couple for us over, especially like last season. He's gotten some good ones, and hopefully he continues.
What is Sar? Is he like? He's great. Is he in like a double pivot? If one of them's sitting, is he like your box to box 8? He can play 10. I've seen him do a pretty good job at 6 and shut people down. Like what? He's so good. He's coming into his own. I don't know what you think, Max. He's just getting better.
Yeah, last year I was like, this guy is a 6. Like, let's stick him there. Like, Ange, please play him there, and like, let's just let him develop here because we just really needed one. But I'm kind of like, now it's like it's kind of McTominay like of recent years. It's also a little bit like Lampardian, his like late arrival into the box. Like, I read something a while ago that I think in his like youth club he was like nicknamed Roberto Carlos or something along those lines because of his ball striking ability.
Wow.
So yeah, he's such a like multifaceted player. You can really develop him any which way. He's like a coach's dream, as Thomas Frank, cannot stop saying after every game. So yeah, I think you can. We'll kind of get into the selection headache that Frank has with when to use him, I guess, in these next few games, but. I think you can play him alongside Palhinha and allow him to be the kind of more mobile, tackling and intercepting midfielder. Yeah. He's not a bad passer. I don't think he has like a natural knack for like tempo and game control, but his actual ability in passing is really strong. So I think you can match him up with really any pivot partner that we have in the team. And then I can also foresee, when like Xavi needs a rest, you can put him back in that kind of 10-ish position. So, yeah, I think
he's you think he's a really nice, when he has played the 10, he's a really aggressive, like forward thinking 10. Like he chases the ball down. Like, I don't know. He has this really, really good knack of like usually when you see a footballer, you see the footballer playing football and they're just assigned, I don't know how to explain this. They're just they're not playing that role. They're just like, you see X player and you're like, oh, that's him. But Pape Sarr seems to be able to like change his game to really like, you can see what area he's playing. Like you can point him out, you can go, he is actually playing that 6 role now. And then you almost see him change and go, well, no, now he's actually playing the 8 role. Like it's very rare you see a player on the field actually take 2 different roles and actually see them almost like just go from one to the other so seamlessly. Like normally it's a little disjointed. You can see a 6 playing in a 10 or vice versa, and you're like, that's not really like he's doing a job, but it seems a bit weird. He just seems to be able to mold himself into the necessary player at that point in time. It just seems to come really natural to him.
Yeah, I think he's a perfect blend of smarts and athleticism. Like his legs are so long, and then also his brain and his positioning, and he has everything. And I think he's as of right now, he's far and away our best midfielder. And what you said about him being in the 10, I think when he doesn't play, we'll see our press start and be like, oh, this doesn't really look as good as I remember it. And you'll be like, oh, it's because Pape Sarr isn't there to trigger it. When he's higher up there, that's such a huge help. So anyway, yeah, love Pape Sarr.
Me too. I am very sad that he will not be here for AFCON. But we move on. Next, I guess we will go to the players that didn't really get a whole lot of minutes. Vicario, unused sub, though based on the most recent performance from Donnarumma, maybe you should start to get a look in, because I don't know if you should be allowing 4 goals against the level of opposition that Italy was playing. I think it was Israel. But yeah, letting in 4 goals is not something that you want to be doing as an international team, especially not a team like Italy that I kind of I mean, I guess it's not the case anymore necessarily, but I always kind of associate them with defending. So I definitely, I maybe it's just club bias, but I feel like he should be getting minutes. Brings up we brought up a good point. Donnarumma is the captain, but you know what? Let's just make Vicario the captain. It's fine. It's okay.
I'm wondering. I mean, obviously it's a Spurs show, so I don't want to veer off too much. But I do wonder how well it's going to work with him at City, because he's not your typical Pep keeper, and that has the potential to be another Carlos Bravo. So I don't know. It's weird. But little shout out to Manor Solomon, who absolutely taught Italy a proverbial new one in parts of that game. He was absolutely awesome. So he'll be doing it at Villarreal this year. Yeah, right.
I know. Okay. Yeah, I did not go and acquire data on all of our loans because we have enough players as it is, which is exciting. I remember when we had like 4 or 5 players getting called up to international break at some point, like a few years ago, and it's just I'm glad we're back. It's nice to see people getting in, even if they're not necessarily getting minutes. It's nice to get experience out with the first team. Like Bergvall was an unused substitute in both games, but it's still nice to be there. I guess Paulinho was a late sub in both games, but I think Portugal's midfield is pretty set. And then Danso was also a late substitute in both games versus Cyprus and Bosnia and Herzegovina. I believe they won both of those as well. Austria did. And then our last person who didn't get a whole lot of minutes, but the minutes I would say were very important. Shout out to my favorite defender, Djed Spence, for getting his first England cap, and also breaking the tie for Tottenham now having the most England internationals again. So that's very, very exciting. And of course, he celebrated the moment with a classic Djed Spence post talking about the Djed Spence Penitentiary going international.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I feel like there's a pun there though. Like he's got to go like Spenitentiary or something.
That's the thing.
Is
It's
gotta be
something in there.
It feels like it's so close, but I feel like the
Penitentiary.
I feel like he's too smooth for that though. Like he's not gonna like.
Yeah, the problem is that it's like so close to working, but like the Spenitentiary
doesn't quite.
I feel
one
like
too many syllables. There's like half a syllable too many or something.
Yeah.
I feel like even saying it's fine, but I feel like writing it looks terrible.
Yeah.
I feel like writing it is worse. Like there are some, how like there are some jokes that only work like verbally. I feel like this is one of those things. I feel like typing Spenitentiary. I feel like you would look at that and you'd be like,
people would read it out and be like, "What? Attentionary?" But yeah, be like, "What?" Yes. It's not cryptic, but people would overthink it to being too cryptic.
Exactly.
I think he thought about it. He probably considered it and came to the same conclusion that we just did. So
I think we probably thought about it more than he did. To be honest.
Yeah, probably.
The one nice thing I did like was the fact that it was the prodigal son, Harry Kane, giving him the cap and getting a bit emotional, especially when I think he said the word Tottenham. And I think I don't care if it comes home. I just think I might want him to come home.
Summer 2026. Come on, we need it.
Maybe. Yeah, I was questioning it. I was really questioning whether I thought I wanted him, but I think I do, Max. I think I do.
We all do deep down. We're
Yeah, that's the thing.
Love is hate, and hate is love. You know what I mean?
That's the thing.
We all have it down there.
I think that there obviously you're gonna have your fans that are like nothing but pragmatic. It doesn't make sense to bring a 30-whatever-year-old back when he loses his athleticism. But it's Harry Kane, man. Like, I'm sorry. There are certain players that I will always want back, and I will always kind of wish to be at the club. And I think Harry Kane is one of those guys. So I personally will, if it doesn't happen, so be it, whatever. But if it does happen, you won't catch me complaining.
I mean, the trophy curse is lifted from Spurs, and the trophy curse is lifted from Kane.
It's true.
At the end of the day, we just get to sit back and watch him break the record.
I agree with this as well. I do think that Kane doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily need his athleticism in the way that other like potential forwards do, which, you know, all the more reason, you know, we can argue when we're buying him, hey, he has no athleticism left, and then but we know he doesn't need it.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll
But back to Djed Spence.
Back to Djed Spence. Yes. Very it's what a I think this is kind of, in my opinion, the culmination of the Djed Spence story. Even more so than, you know, lifting the Europa League trophy. I think that this is just like from Genoa being like, we don't want to pay 7 million whole euros for you. Come on. Let's tone it down a bit, to being in a capped international is so impressive, and it takes a very strong mentality to get to that place. And man, I'm glad that he's harnessing the talent that he very clearly has.
What's he worth open market now?
I will not be able to give an unbiased answer.
65, 70.
I think
probably. Homegrown. Cucurella went for 60. Is way better than Cucurella was, and that was a few years ago. So you could say, I think Spurs. Well, the thing is, Spurs will be like 90, and then no one will know, and then they'll back away. So
I think the answer to that question, we could say like 70, 80, whatever, 60, 70, 80. But I think that the real answer is that he's worth more to Tottenham than he's worth to any other club. So he is unsellable at the moment. Maybe that changes.
Deadly King, priceless.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna write a piece for the OhSo Spurs blog at some point called like an ode to Djed Spence, because he's just like, he's like one of my I'm gonna sound like Harry Kane now, but he's like one of my favorite, you know, stories of the Spurs squad, and as long as I can remember. And I just remember watching him like play in the Europa League for Rennes and just being like, it's right there. Like, I know, you know, like you can just see the kind of player that he is, and just the fact that that's come to fruition is just amazing. And also the fact that he's the first Muslim player to play for England is, you know, such an inspiration to so many going forward. Hopefully it's going to open the door to a lot more players in the future. So not only has he set, you know, a great benchmark and achievement for himself, but I think for so many others from a footballing perspective, and also for, you know, an entirely, you know, underrepresented group of people in the England setup. So.
Yeah, it's crazy that there hasn't been a Muslim player in the England team before.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I was surprised to see it. Yeah.
I was too, especially when, I don't know, like when people started first reporting on players' religions. Maybe I just hadn't seen it before, but it felt like there were like a bunch of random players, I guess, that they were like, you know, Muslim or whatever. I just kind of assumed one of them would have been an England international, but I guess not. So yeah, congratulations to Djed Spence. And hopefully Tuchel makes the right decision and brings him on the plane over here, because I think he definitely deserves it. I think honestly, I think that if he keeps playing the way that he is, I think he'll pass Livramento in the pecking order. And honestly, I think he should probably pass MLS as well. But maybe that's a little bit of club bias. I don't know. I don't really watch him all that closely. And Reece James will
be injured.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to wish ill upon anybody, because he deserved.
He just will be.
Yeah,
it's just as water is wet and as day becomes night. Unfortunately, Reece James will become injured.
Yes, it does kind of feel that way. I hope he gets on. I hope he gets his chance to play at the World Cup this coming summer. All right, so now we get to go. I guess we'll finish up with the European contingent. We had both Ben Davies and Brennan Johnson capped for Wales. Davies played 2 90s. Johnson played for 65 minutes versus Kazakhstan, and then was an unused sub against Canada. He didn't. I don't know. It's tough. I think he's going through a bit of a crisis of confidence at the moment. And I don't know. I think that for us bringing in players like Simons will allow for him to play in a way that is more comfortable for him. So I'm excited to see that. I think that's kind of where I'll leave that with them. And then Davies, I guess, is Mr. Reliable as always for Wales. Anyone else have anything to
290 minutes? I just can't believe he
I
did
know.
290 minutes.
no
can't
club
believe
football at all. Then bang, 290s for Wales.
I mean, it's great for us. We need that sharpness is huge for us because he hasn't touched the field yet, has he? So we'll need him at some point, I'm sure.
The one thing I would say about Johnson is he's already bagged himself a couple of goals. He's playing in a completely different position to us now, and he's been asked to play in a completely different way. And you would hope that I've got a feeling Simmons might just be the key to unlocking all of this. And Johnson, regardless of what people might think of him, he has the ability to turn up in the spots that he needs to turn up in, and Simmons will be clever enough to find him more often than not. I think Johnson. There's more in him. I'm going to live to regret saying that, but there is this.
No, you're not. You're not. I agree.
I think I agree too. Yeah. I mean, part of it is that I want every player that plays for Tottenham to become the best version of themselves in a selfish manner, because that means that my club's probably winning a lot of games. And especially with Johnson, the joke of all he does is score or whatever. Right. If he keeps scoring, then that means we've scored. And I like it when my club scores, which, makes life better for me. But yeah, I think he's being asked to do a lot because he plays like a different position for Wales as well. I think he plays more of like a forward role. And now he's being asked to play on the left for us. So there's just a lot, I'd say. And yeah, I agree with Simons potentially being the key to kind of allowing for him to get in the positions, which he's really good at getting into. I think he reads the game really well, where he can put himself in a position to, like, for his goal against Burnley, where he positioned himself well off the center back to run into the ball that Sarr won. He'll be able to put himself into more positions like that, and Simons will be able to find them, I'd say, more often than any of our current players can. So nothing but exciting things, I'd say. And he'll also potentially have the ability to come on versus tired legs if he isn't necessarily always in the starting 11, which will honestly, I think, be only a benefit because he is very, very fast.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to face a rested Brennan Johnson at 70 minutes. I wouldn't want to face a rested Brennan Johnson at any point. I'm not that fast. But I'd say I would hazard to say nobody would want to face a rested Brennan Johnson with 70 minutes of football in the legs.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's better off the ball is kind of a unique thing that you don't see a lot. And as a football fan, you don't necessarily want that to be the case. Like, you want to see your favorite player pick up the ball and like beat someone and that kind of thing. So the fact that he's kind of like not taking that many Richarlison's actually kind of similar if you think about it as far as his finishing. Like he's takes like the most first time finishes out of really anyone. And that's, I think, he gets similar critique of like, where is he kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's a weird dynamic. I will say with the Wales thing, like they play a pretty like stodgy system, to be honest. Like it's like the 2-man with the 5-back setup where, you have to do a lot with the ball, which as what I just said, it's not really playing to his strengths. Like him and Kiefer Moore up there, like not too much is going to happen. So, yeah, I think, he scored 2 in his first 2, right? And then the Bournemouth game was just like, who was good in that game? Nobody. So yeah, let's be patient with him. It's a long season, and I still back him to score 15 plus this season. So
I would love it if he scored 15 plus. I think it kind of depends on how we end up utilizing Kolibwani, who we'll talk about.
Yeah.
I would say after we finish with the internationals. Okay, I'm reading through my list. Pedro Porro got about 150 minutes in the legs in a 3-0 victory versus Bulgaria and a 6-0 win against Turkey. Spain are very good Newsflash. I don't think there's much more to say about that. They are ridiculous. Very fun to watch. They're one of the teams that I don't mind it being the international break, because I get to sometimes, just turning on a Spain game and sitting back and relaxing and watching some nice football. I don't know, and especially Lamine Yamal. Like he's as advertised. Like,
I was gonna say that he's on the same side as Yamal, so it's like this crazy like FIFA career mode setup of like Porro and Yamal on the same side, which is very ridiculous. So yeah.
When the new ENIC funds come in and we buy Lamine
yeah,
Yamal.
seriously, the takeover.
And then I guess I've saved the not best for last, but I guess the new guy for last. We had both Van de Ven and Simons were capped for the Netherlands. Van de Ven played 90 minutes in a 1-1 draw versus Poland. He played as a left back because, why not? And Simons had played for 80 minutes against Poland and was used exclusively on the right wing for some reason, and then was an unused sub against Lithuania. I've kind of noticed this, I guess, with Simons's involvement in the national team, that they don't really have it doesn't really feel like the way that they play super gels with the way that he wants to play, which is why I think it was so weird that they stuck him specifically on the right. But yeah, I think if obviously I think we were all kind of hoping that he would go and bang one in, and so we could get even more excited for him coming in. But I don't think that this an okay performance. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't like a crazy performance or anything either. But I don't think it's one to think much about. I think he just kind of plays in a system that's playing Mickey Van de Ven at left back. I think they got their goal versus Poland, if I remember correctly, from a Dumfries header. So they're not playing super expansive football.
Inevitable. The Dumfries dunk at the back post.
It always happens. It always happens. You'd think teams would learn.
Yeah, with the Simons thing, I think it's it's kind of a selection headache, and also kind of Koeman being a little bit weird. Like, I get you have Gakpo on the left, so it's like you probably keep him in his ideal position, and then Xavi's a little bit more versatile to be able to play off the right. And it was good, in a pinch, like maybe he'll end up there this season. Hopefully he doesn't have to, but it was interesting to see what he was like on that side with a fullback overlapping, and then he was kind of staying in the pockets, like kind of in a Virtzy, Foden-y way a little bit. And yeah, it just wasn't coming to him enough, I wouldn't say. So he didn't look like, I don't think it was like a terrible performance from him or anything, but I just don't think he was as involved as he would have liked to have been. And then Van de Ven just looked absolutely ridiculous at left back. I think, it's an injury concern having him bombing up and down on that side, but if you can get him extended minutes there, it's an absolute cheat code. Like, I can't think of a single player that would be able to get the best of him on that side. And worst case scenario, like he shows them inside and someone else deals with it. You know what I mean? Like, worst case scenario, he can't defend on his right side. But yeah, I thought he looked really good going up the pitch, and we'll see how much. I think Frank likes it. Likes the idea too, because we prioritized a center back over a left back at the end of the summer window, right? So I think his ideal would be to give him minutes on the far left side and also at center back. But we'll see what happens, I guess, as the season progresses.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of Dutch journalists that were actually not big fans of Van de Ven at left back, and they basically think that is it Kalinji Hartman at Burnley is actually the better left back for them in that system. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's nice for Van de Ven to get minutes, but obviously we know the situation with his hamstrings. I mean, touch wood, nothing's happened so far, and long may it continue. It's a nice spread of minutes for him, 90 minutes in the first game and then just 28 in the second. So that was quite a nice spread. But yeah, we'll see. Like you said, the Simons, I mean, it would have been nice for him to bang in a goal or a couple of assists, but I think that will come against West Ham. So good.
Yeah, one would hope. And that wraps up the OhSoInternational break, which means that we get to return to club football. Woo!
Thank God.
It's been so long. I guess there are a couple more bits of I guess international or football related things that happened over the international break. Mostly people, and by people I mean me, reading too much into training videos that the club have released to let people like me read too much into them. So they're doing a great job. I think that I really like Kolomwani. I didn't learn anything necessarily from the training video other than I still really like Kolomwani, and I'm excited to see him in a Tottenham shirt on the pitch. I think the most interesting thing from either of the videos, because they did one for him and then one for Spence, or not Spence, Siemens, was the bit where I can't remember who it was, but one of our coaches, they have
Matt
Siemens.
Wells.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, where he
Yeah,
receives the ball
I
in
was
half
going to bring this
turn,
up.
and they say something to the effect of "Go create, do whatever you want." And I think that kind of gives the game away for where he's going to play and what role he's going to be. I think that that says to me that they're going to ask him to drop a little bit deeper, pick up the ball, and then be the creative player, kind of like what we saw with Madison last season. I think that those are the areas where he can be dangerous, and I'm really excited that kind of is the way that I think we're gonna try to use him. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, they were man marking him too with Dante Casanova as well. So he must have been a bit nervous going from Messi and Neymar in training to Dante Casanova himself. Yeah, but no, I saw that clip. I was going to bring up that clip of Matt Wells because it was almost like one of us in training, like coaching him. Like one of us who's so excited about this signing, like just being like, "Go on, Xavi, go on, everyone, faster, Xavi!" Like we just want to see what he's going to do. So yeah, I think it's clear that I'd be so surprised if he's not thrown straight in for this game. And I'm so excited to see what that brings. I'm glad that we're training with man to man because that's what everyone does nowadays, right? So, yeah, I'm excited to see how he copes. I think it really could go either way. Like I think we need to be braced for a teething period of things maybe being a little bit difficult with the physicality at first, like that's happening with Wirtz so far, who's cost I think more than twice as much, right? So. It may be a little bit of a betting in period, but he also could just get like 2 assists and a goal. You never know. Regardless, I'm like so excited. So yeah, and I was also really intensely watching those training videos. I also wanted to say actually on Kolomwani, I thought something we saw from him at Juve fans saw from him at Juve was his layoffs are like amazing. Like his little 1-2 kind of link up, specifically like getting from just before entering the box to kind of a shot, the position where you can take a shot. He's really good at little link up, kind of like Cherki does a little bit too, with like little push passes that are nice and like intricate. He was doing a little bit of that in the training video too. So yeah, I think he's going to really massively improve our link up play, and I'm excited to see the two of them. I think Kolomwani, well, we're not going to do team selection yet, but we may have to wait a little bit longer to see him doing that. But
interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too greedy, but I'm like, we've had a whole international break. I need him now.
I know. I want to see him start as well, but I don't think I don't think he's like played consistently because he's kind of been like waiting for a transfer, right? So I don't think he was starting games since the Club World Cup. So we'll see.
It was like a month ago.
It was recently, yeah. So we'll see. It's a weird one of like, was that like where was the preseason in that? Was there ever a preseason? You know what I mean? There's so much football. So
Davies just played 2 90s. He'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, true.
Drew, did you see anything from the training videos that piqued your interest, or just more general
The thing
excitement?
well, I guess just general excitement. I'd kind of forgotten not forgotten, but the Kolomwani thing was so sort of last minute, and everyone was so wrapped up in something other things. Just not getting the things we thought we were going to get. Everybody just still stuck on the Morgan Gibbs White stuff, and then all of a sudden Levy gets bumped, and then you're sort of watching the training videos, and then you like Kolo Muani pops up out of nowhere, and you go, oh, yeah, we got Kolo bloody Muani. Like, what's going on? We might just cook. But I think the most interesting thing for me, honestly, is the front 3 or 4 now. You can really, like last year, the most disjointed thing was a misfiring or injured Richarlison, with a Solanke that was still trying to find his feet, with a Johnson that wasn't doing the things that we really wanted him to do on the right, and a Werner that couldn't do anything. And now all of a sudden you've got a fit and firing Richarlison, you've got Solanke hopefully coming back, you've got Johnson kind of being kicked up the arse, not really playing well, but still bagged 2 goals. You've got Kudus, who looks like he's taken to like a duck to water. And now you're going to add Xavi Simons, who's going to start pulling the strings, and you're going to add Kolo Muani. And Xavi Simons, by the way, you can pop out on the left, who can come into the middle and come in on his right foot. You've got Muani, who can actually go out onto a wing, but can also play centre forward. You've got Kudus, who can come in and play like a 10, but he's also very good out wide. And he can also be like a shadow 9. Like, I'm just like, I'd look at that and I almost think, not that you can ever have too much, but we've gone from being like almost so one-dimensional to having so many dimensions. I just don't know. It's almost like the MCU again. It's just like a multiverse up front. I don't know. It's such a great problem to have. It's so exciting. My head tells me it's going to take a minute for everything to start bedding in and for us to really start, obviously, kicking on. But my heart is just saying, let's go. Like, let's go.
Yeah, and how exciting is it too for like Odebear, who last season,
I didn't even bring up Odebear.
He'd come back. Well, last season he came back from like months and months out with a hamstring injury, and it was like a shining light from the heavens, him waiting to come on the field. We're like, oh my god, our one winger that can like beat a man 1v1 is finally entering the pitch, and like everything is on him now after he's like just recovered from an injury. And now it's like he has so much like room to develop, and he just kind of has the time and ability to like slowly push his way into the team. And then if it doesn't work, like it's kind of like a Chelsea thing. Like you're not losing value on these players that you're picking up based on their potential. And it puts you in a way better bargaining position if you are to sell any of them. Like I obviously love our squad and I'm not advocating for that, but yeah, I think our squad building from this summer is putting us in a really good position. And I'm really interested to see, because I think it's going to be a situation of like, there's like different chapters of the season kind of featuring different players based on who's coming in and out of form. And I think that's something, that we can all really look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, I think that to kind of speak on Odebear, and I guess go back to Tell a little bit, not that we haven't spoken enough about him, but I think we've kind of forgotten what the business section of the season feels like, where we're like, oh, there's a game a week. How are we going to get Tell minutes? This is a travesty that we've left him out of the Champions League because he's never going to play now, and how we can't even play Odebear, and our squad's too big. Need I remind anybody of last January? May we cast our minds back to but earlier this season, where it felt like we couldn't field 11 senior players, because if I remember correctly, we couldn't field 11 senior players. And injuries will happen. It's part of the game. Only the luckiest of clubs can make a full season without any meaningful injuries. And even they get a few ones that knock people out for weeks at times. We need the squad depth, and unfortunately that means we can't give players like Tell and Odebear 90 minutes every week, but we have them in case one of our starting wingers goes down. Then yeah. I think that's it's better than not having that player. I would say it's better than not like being able to. I guess it's better than having to pull up some random academy player. No offense to our academy players or anything. Just I think that these players would be more adept to first team football. And yeah, I think that it's it's a luxury that we haven't really been able to have before. So it kind of feels weird to have. But if you look at other clubs, especially Chelsea, but like even like I think Arsenal still have like Trossard, right? They have Martinelli, who kind of feels like his position might be in danger depending on how they choose to utilize Eze. I think that everyone has wingers on backup wingers because wingers get hurt. I'd say that I don't have the numbers to back me up on this, but it feels like based on the way that they kind of play, that I would assume that they'd be one of the more injury prone.
Saka already went down with injury, didn't he? And I don't I have a thing where if I talk too much about that lot up the if I talk too much about
valid reaction,
I can't even. You know what I mean? But like you just said, they have so much depth because they've got Noni as well, who's playing phenomenally well.
Yeah. Throwback.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will have more than enough players to. I don't know if we'll have more than enough players. As we saw last season, you never know if you have enough players. But we should have enough players to more effectively handle a situation. And we have players that can play, like you mentioned, the Tottenham Hotspur cinematic universe can cover multiple positions, most of these players. So we will hopefully, so that means that even if we have like a right wing hole for whatever reason, we have plenty of players that can play there. If we have a hole at 9, we now have at least 3 players that are comfortable enough playing there if one of them goes down. Left wing, same thing.
I can see a scenario as well where, like, should the worst happen and you really get a situation where, like, I don't know, you've got one, last year we had more wingers than Nando's, and this year they'll all get injured and we have like one winger or something. But I see a scenario where Frank goes, okay, and he does like some weird like 5-3-2 and just utilizes the wing backs and they become the wingers, and you just have a banker 3 and a banker 2, and Porro and or Udogi or something will just then become wingers or something. Like, he's so tactically astute that and like you say, with the rotation and the ability for people to be able to step in, I just think there's just such more of a balance across there. I don't see a scenario where you have to play one player constantly in a position and just slog them to death, and it's just nice. Like you say, we've not been in that position before. It's quite a luxury. This is how this is what it feels like, guys. This is how it feels.
Yeah, I think we'll find that players will like play better when they're not running to the ground, maybe, like
what?
Last year it was like such a common occurrence where we'd have like a player who was just like Kulusevski is the greatest example. We're like, oh my God, he's like playing like one of the best midfielders in the league, one of the best midfielders in Europe. And what do you know, like a few months later, he looks like he's playing in mud because he was just like absolutely abused. So yeah, healthy rotation is going to be great. And I'm excited to see how our squad size kind of fares this year. I think the club will get a good amount of information from that too. It's better to overstock than understock. So yeah, better position than last year for sure.
Definitely. Speaking of positions from last year that we no longer have, we have seemingly pushed out the man who I think has kind of become synonymous with Tottenham more than anyone else in the past 20-25 years, at least in my lifetime. Daniel Levy is no longer chairman at Tottenham Hotspur, and the statement said he was stepped down, and then it felt like there was like a let's calm down period for about 3 hours, and then someone flipped a switch, and 8 different journalists were all like, he was pushed, like there was. So I think it's pretty fair to assume that this was not 100% his decision. I don't believe necessarily the rumors that he was blindsided by it. To me, it feels like he was probably aware that this would be happening, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't told that it was going to happen at some point and that he didn't necessarily have a say in the matter. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the situation? Also, if you have any thoughts in the comments, I forgot to put them over where Max, I can't point to it, but over there, but I'm still reading them. If you want to sound off.
Yeah, I think it's weird as far as the timeline. I think we saw some stuff that, like specifically with the Vinay hire, was he briefed on the fact that, our long term is for you to become the guy, and was that, the reason why he took this new position? Or was it more off the cuff, kind of closer to when we found out? It's hard to know. I think it's probably something in between. It's usually like little bits of different articles are true, I would say. So yeah, but I mean, I was absolutely gobsmacked when the news dropped. I could not believe what I was seeing when I saw like the all the aggregators start to drop the news with a bunch of red sirens and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's still kind of sinking in, to be honest. Like, not he's become so closely associated with Spurs because of his involvement with the club. I think his actions have kind of become really just obviously the club's actions, but it's almost like the Spursy tag and things like that. Like Levy maybe not wanting to pay the money to get a deal over the line, and it's like, oh, it's Spursy, and then our squad being underbuilt for certain seasons where the squad, that same squad, falters. It's like, oh, it's Spursy, and it's like Levy's done a lot of great stuff for the club, but I do think that a lot of the stereotypes and sticks that Spurs get beat with are kind of a result of him, to be completely honest. And that's really to do with, his erring on the side of caution in terms of the money we're spending and things like that. So, yeah, I feel like I'm curious to know what you guys think as well, because based on, the comments that the club and Vinay have put out since then about the ambition of ENIC and that sort of thing, it seems like there's going to be more investment and more ambition and that sort of thing. But I also, and I don't think I'm wrong in feeling a sense of almost like nervousness because we're in such a secure position under Levy. It's like, are we almost going to overextend ourselves, find ourselves in financial trouble? It's really like such a drastic change that it's hard to know kind of where my feelings fully fall. But yeah, curious to know what you guys think as well.
It's weird, and obviously I don't think anyone will truly know what's gone on until the books start coming out. Do you know what I mean? And then we'll get, once all the NDAs are done and everything. Though I feel like he's been done a little bit dirty, because I don't honestly think that, I don't know, with all the stuff that's come to light, I don't necessarily know that it was him making all the absolute decisions to begin with. Like, he has a board, and ultimately he did have to answer to Joe for, at least up to the time where Joe relinquished a couple of years ago because of the situation that he found himself in. But I don't know. I find it odd that they would kind of push him to one side and then come out and say, oh, we want all this ambition and stuff. Well, if you weren't happy with the amount of ambition you were showing, then you should have released the shackles a little bit. When I don't know, something's just not quite sitting right with me with how it's all gone down. And this whole $100 million investment thing is kind of seems to me a little bit robbing Peter to pay Paul, because it's a loan on money that's going to be received from the Premier League next year for rights of something, to my knowledge. As I say, I don't know all the ins and outs, so I don't want to speak too much on it because I could be completely misquoting things and not understanding the nuances of things. So I don't know. It seems a little bit odd to me. The timing of it seems a little strange. I don't know.
I kind of agree. I guess the thought, maybe, I wanted to give him one last hit of transfer dealings before he was sent on his way. I know that, I allegedly that's like his favorite thing. So, though it does not necessarily. It's weird because I feel like he's painted himself in such a unique position where I feel like it's both a positive and a negative when you hear, oh, Levy's on the case. Like, it's both like, that if the deal gets done, it's going to be a good deal, but will the deal get done? Like, I feel like that's kind of the position that he kind of put himself into, where he's almost too good of a negotiator that people don't want to deal with him anymore. And I think that, I guess, part of I would say being a good negotiator is walking away when the terms don't match what you want. And sometimes the terms that he wanted, I would, at least this is conjecture on my end, obviously, but I would say that the terms he wanted maybe could have relaxed on a little bit at times. to bring in potentially better options. I don't want to go too far into this because there have been plenty of other podcasts that have done deep dives into every single window that where we could have bought better and where we did buy well. But yeah, I think in my opinion, the timing of this, based on the reporting, and I could be, falling for a marketing scheme, but it does kind of feel like the tides, I would say, started changing with the whole Patagonia thing with Joe Louis, where he had to sign over Enoch into a trust to his children, who are very much adults.
They're like 60, and they are something
Yeah,
older than
exactly.
me. Yeah, crikey.
I was like, oh yes, these people like barely older than me. Joe Louis is like ancient. He's
88.
his children are going to be old, and I just never thought about that until I looked up a picture of them because I was curious. But yeah, I think it kind of feels like the feeling around the club from Enoch changed when Enoch began to be ran by them, and obviously that could just be a story that they spun to give cause to fire Levy for some completely unrelated reason. But I don't know. If it means that they're going to be a bit more ambitious and push us a little bit further forward, then I will choose to believe it until I'm shown otherwise, because it'd be cool if they did that,
Yeah, I think you can see how things have kind of like, you can see that the reasoning behind the decision, just because I think we've stagnated a little bit, or compared to some of the other clubs, like the minnows that once were so far below Spurs in financial standing, that you could easily get their best player off of them. It's not really the same anymore. Like, you want to go get one of Forest's best players, like they're going to pull your pants down. You want to go and get one of Brighton's best players, like similar, it's really difficult to deal with clubs that are so much smarter now and also have so much more financial firepower than they did in kind of the early Daniel Levy era. And you hear a lot about, clubs used to fear Daniel Levy. Now they're kind of just, not very excited to see him reach out to them, I guess. And I think also with this past transfer window, it did feel like things were a little bit different. It felt like, we were going for like the best possible target that we had in each position, and then, faltering on, to be fair, with some of those targets. But, it's almost like the approach is there. And as long as you just kind of keep going down the list of the best possible options, then that's what you really need to do to strengthen a squad. Kudus, great example. Xavi Simons, supposedly like a little bit further down the list in our targets, but I don't necessarily think that was true. I think it was just the kind of the nature of the availability of the player. We couldn't get Colomwani through the door last January. Now he's at the club. So I think, and like Polina is another one where it's like, that's not really a Daniel Levy deal. Like, he's 30, it's like, you think we could kind of see a pivot over the course of the summer, even though he was in negotiations, but ultimately those, decisions and budgets are being handed down to him. So that's what makes me think like maybe it's been a little bit more in the pipeline in accordance with some of those articles that the decision's been made, in the previous months. So yeah, it's interesting. I also wanted to say with the communication, I think that's like the biggest change that, as far as like public facing, is such a relief. Like that video that the club put out with the Vinay interview, even though like obviously it's a club interview, so it's a little bit, some of the questions are a little softball-y. It's still like, I was watching it and just like, thank God they're saying something, like, oh my God, I actually know something that's happening, like that has never been the case. The first time we saw that, to be fair, was with Levy and Vinay, but just kind of knowing like what they're trying to do is like so relieving, because I think, I forget which one of you said it, but Daniel Levy getting so much stick was kind of his fault because there was no communication about it, and we never knew what the club actually had attempted to do in the first place, or who had attempted to do it. And you really subject yourself to that when you have that sort of silence. So yeah. Sorry, I know I dumped a lot there, but
I feel you're right. Like, in terms of the shackles are off financially, maybe a little bit more this summer. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, you go straight in for the Morgan Gibbs White. You pay the 60 or whatever it was that was supposed to be, and you think to yourself, well, that's not something that we really do before. And then, you know, Kudus, or I guess it was Kudus first, right? You do that, and then all of a sudden it was Gibbs White. And if that had come off, everybody's going, oh, that's just crazy. And I mean, you've heard reports that they really, really expected that to be done for all intents and purposes. The medical was, you know, signed. His wife was in London. Obviously, she was in the hospital doing her thing. He was practically there. And then all of a sudden he's not there. But we were willing to do the deal, and we were willing to sort of just get it done. And yeah, it took a little while to pivot. And yeah, I genuinely think we got run around from Eze, and I think it was more of there's still something that tells me they were just stitching Daniel Levy up and just making him look like a mug. And maybe that's got something to do with it as well. Maybe they don't want somebody that's supposed to be the front-facing, you know, part of the business to kind of look a little bit foolish. But then, again, you get to a point where they're still trying to figure out what they need to do, and then Simmons becomes available. And I think the only thing, I mean, as quick as, yes, it was, you know, it took a couple of days, because my understanding is they wanted to be absolutely sure that if they were going to offer it, that they weren't going to end up with another Eze situation. Because the last thing you want is to be gazumped by Chelsea a day before the end of the window, right? So they had to be absolutely sure. But as soon as they were sure, they got that deal through, and they got that deal over the line. So, and again, we don't know how much Levy was or wasn't involved, but it kind of goes back to my point earlier. Like, if the Lewises had aspirations of being a better club and doing this, that why weren't these shackles off a year ago? Like, there's still something that's just underlying, not quite making sense. But it is what it is. Like I say, we'll never know until the book comes out. The most important thing now is that, like I say, I'm salivating over our front line. We do finally have a number 10. Like, you know, it is what it is. I'll let business people with far more nous than me when it comes to the finances figure it all out.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't do finance stuff, especially not for the club. There's other members of the OCU.
Right.
As
Thanos and the boys have got that.
Yeah, Thanos and the boys we'll get that one up. We'll explain that one more, I would say. But yeah, I think that's probably totally brand new ground that we've broken on the Daniel Levy situation, that you've heard here first for the first time. No one else has ever had this opinion that Daniel Levy did good at first, but then needed to move on. And that it's also maybe a little bit weird that we didn't, you know, release the purse strings until this summer.
Right. Well, I tell you what, just one last thing, because it has irked me the last couple of days. People only ever go on about the 2 trophies. And what they never go on about is however many semi-finals and however many finals that the team and the coach didn't get over the line. I don't think you can blame somebody for getting a team that, you know, it can be all on them if they fail. But I don't know. It's just, yeah, you can't. He has to be given a little bit more credit than just, you know, 1 or 2 cups. But I'll say no more about it.
Well, Chelsea have just got like 74 FA charges, so maybe we've got a Premier League coming our way as well.
True. That'll be the feather in Daniel's cap of Premier League that everyone will take super seriously. And definitely, yeah, whatever. We all know that won't happen. Speaking of the Premier League, I think it's probably time to talk about, like I said, football is back, and therefore we have a game to talk about. We get to play West Ham, who have had a slightly less than optimal beginning to the season, though I believe they did win their most recent game.
Forest.
Yes, against Forest of all teams. Obviously, that was what precipitated the Nuno firing, and absolutely nothing else.
Yeah. It was a capitulation as well, because I think it was 0-0 up to 87 minutes, and then it was 3-0 at 90. So yeah, it was
a little misleading, the scoreline.
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm excited to see the team back. Honestly, I'm very excited to see what, as you alluded to, Max. I think it makes sense for us to kind of throw throw Siemens directly into the fire, if you will, because I think that he will be necessary in games like this. We kind of saw it in I would say a more pronounced extent than probably would be in this game against Bournemouth, because Bournemouth are, good, or I would say better than West Ham. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But they don't have the ability. We didn't have the ability to break Bournemouth down, and West Ham I don't think will be coming out to play, so to speak, versus us. So we will need that kind of creative presence in the midfield to allow for us to progress the ball. And having the player that can do that in Simons, not only to come deeper and be more progressive, but also to kind of receive the ball on the half turn from players like Romero that we kind of lacked before, I think will allow for us to handle the situation that we faced against Bournemouth a bit more effectively, even if I don't think this press will be on the level of Bournemouth's, just because Bournemouth, I think, are almost uniquely good at having that kind of press. I think Iraola has done a great job building that squad. Anyone else have any thoughts?
Yeah, West Ham are way less physically dominant than and intense as Bournemouth, kind of as you're saying there. So I don't think we'll run into the same issue. It's obviously at West Ham, so whether that kind of plays into it, making it more of a scrappy game, whether that kind of, I guess, aids them, we'll see. But I do feel a little bit more confident about this game. Basically, like what Bournemouth did super well is not let Romero have the ball. And when you have one player that's good at progressing the ball, especially when he's your center back, it makes things difficult, and it makes things pretty easy for the your opponent basically to nullify that. So yeah, having Djed Spence in there, having a little bit more firepower off the bench as well. I also think we have way more legs in midfield. We're a lot stronger than them as far as dueling in the midfield. I think we will have to deal with their fullbacks. Like Diouf specifically has a really good delivery from the left side, and he'll be bombing on. So that would task Kudus with some defending probably. So yeah, I think we'll do okay in this game. It's going to be interesting to see if our setup changes as far as selection as well. Like, does Paulinho play? We found that against Bournemouth in a game that we have a lot of the ball. Like, does he suit that sort of game? Not really. So whether Frank wants to adjust that'll be interesting to see. But I think overall, I feel pretty confident about the game. Crossing on my fingers, but yeah.
I feel about as confident as I can feel about a Premier League game, which is to say, like, fairly confident. But I also am aware that every Premier League team is very good now, and I will say this every time we play anybody, but especially teams we expect to beat. Every team is very good. This is, like, I would in baseball we would say that we are their World Series. I don't know what we would call. What you would call that? I guess we would call that their cup final.
Well, they're the cup final, yeah.
That's the one, yeah.
We're their cup final for sure.
We are. So they're gonna end rivalry games. Had in the US, we always talk about how rivalry games have a way of not making sense, and I would say that that's probably the same thing. I'd say derbies are similar, in the way that players are up for it in ways that they wouldn't otherwise be. So we will have to play very well to win. But I think we have given ourselves the players, and I think we have the manager that can set us up to play very well. And therefore, I think we will be able to set ourselves up to have a good performance, and I would say probably come out with a victory.
Yeah, I do think we turn up to the London Stadium a little bit sleepy sometimes. Like, we haven't actually won. Looking at it now, we haven't actually won at West Ham Stadium since 2019, I think. So. And the last three have been 1-1 draws. So yeah, I think it's really going to be about the players and the application and the intensity, how we start the game, that sort of thing, that defines how well we perform.
Yeah, I would agree. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really concerned with them up front, even though they scored 3 the last game. Well, they got Callum Wilson and an injured Fulkrug. So I'm not too. My concern is Paquetá, because I think on his day, I think he's still like if we could have got him and had a Paquetá, Paulinho axis, I would have been all over that. So he worries me. Jared Bowen worries me, and I think there might be one more. Who am I missing? Somebody
They just
else.
got Mateus Fernandez from Southampton, who looks pretty scary as well. And they have
I paid a
Somerville
lot
off
of
the
money
left.
for him.
Do you know Sushik always pops up in the box and does annoying things? He's one of those really annoying players. So I'm not his biggest fan. But yeah, like you say, they got Kyle Walker Peters on the right. I just feel like we've got too much for him. I know the whole, the rivalry thing comes into it and the derby, but I think now, and like you say, DJ, every teams are good teams and for the most part coached very well. I think when I first started watching football, when it was Tottenham, West Ham or Tottenham, Chelsea, it was half a dozen of the team were from Tottenham and half a dozen of the team were from West Ham. And there was actually a bit of bite and a bit of rivalry to it. And you just don't get that kind of thing anymore unless you have teams that are, like the Pochettino team. Over the course of those 4 or 5 seasons, because they were so sort of nurtured and together, we did have kind of that rivalry with Chelsea where it really was still, even though there wasn't, nobody was from Tottenham and nobody was from Chelsea, everyone hated each other. And that was the sort of thing you get. But nowadays, I would expect West Ham, Tottenham, both being coached to their levels, I would expect that we would just have too much for them. And I don't know, it's going to come back and bite me now, and it's going to be like a real, it's going to be one of those matches again. But I just don't know that they've got enough in terms of just being galvanized by the fact that it's us. I just think if we go there and play our game, we're just going to have a bit too much for them.
Yeah, that would be my hope, obviously, because I love winning football matches. But yeah, Max, you got any last, I guess, thoughts?
Yeah, I think like we're all predicting a win, and I think it's like easy to obviously for us to all have egg on our face if it doesn't go that way. But I do feel like it's kind of with what you just said, Drew. Like if we don't win, I don't think it's like because we completely got our prediction wrong or anything. Like I think it's really like a going to be an intensity thing. If the players don't show up, aren't willing to win their duels, and like take the game to West Ham basically, then we're not going to win the game, and that's why we haven't won the game in a while, right? So it's like I feel like
are we gonna be going back to? Is it going to be a case of like? Is it? I'm not going to say Spursy because it isn't Spursy, but we do have a tendency to do this inconsistency thing. It's like we'll turn up against Man City, and then we'll not turn up against Bournemouth. And it's one of those things where it's a mentality thing with the players. Like they can seem to get themselves up for the big things, but they can't quite get themselves up for the little things. And it's up to the coach to turn them all on and get them focused for it. But I don't know. Like that's the only thing I think. I don't want to be that inconsistent. I mean, I'll take a draw away from home any day of the week, but I kind of always back the team to win because I always think unless it's, the likes of your Liverpool or that lot up the road, I kind of look at us and I look at them and I just think, we've got enough about us. But like I say, if the Bournemouth Spurs turns up, then we'll get turned over. It will be 2-0 to them.
It's just like you look at it on paper and it's like, okay, to get Xavi Simons out of the game, you got to man mark him. Can Ward-Prowse or Souček man mark Xavi Simons?
Ward-Prowse,
no.
I
don't know if I should say the other version of that if we're gonna get but no way, you know what I mean? Like the physicality, like Papsar will outrun either of those. Bentancur is more technical than either of those. Like on paper, it just does not make sense for us to like lose this game unless we, like I said, unless we just are bad, like are just on the day bad. So yeah, I feel like that's all I can really say about it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. think we all kind of assume Siemens is going to start. Yeah.
Do you know what? As much as I think we probably possibly need him to, I could very much understand it being a second half or a 65-minute thing. I mean, it is a little bit, I'm going to contradict everything I've just said. It is a little bit Lions Den. If for a first time, I guess, although is it West Ham away, like their stadium makes no noise and you have to use binoculars to see the game. So maybe I'm thinking it's Upton Park, and I can. So yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you just throw him in there. Maybe he's that good.
I think
as Matty Wells says, just go create.
Yeah, please
go create whatever. Yeah, no, I think he. Of anybody, I think he is he has been brought up under nothing but scrutiny, I would say. I was reading articles about him when he was like 10, which is crazy for anybody, but especially like a player, like a football player. And he continued to be watched. And I think people were even beginning to start to write him off when he went to PSV, and he made them look stupid very quickly. And then he continued to play very well at RB Leipzig and has performed on the international stage as well. So I don't think that he's like the traditional younger player that needs to be protected a little bit. I think we can definitely throw him into the fire, and I think he'll thrive in that kind of environment.
Yeah, I think you go. Should we talk about the lineup at all, or should we just?
Let's talk about the lineup, and I think that'll finish it off, I would say.
Yeah, I think I would say like probably pretty much. Let me just look at our lineup from last game. I think it'll be like relatively unchanged, but then you'll probably see Xavi come in for one of the midfield three, right? So it's probably, I think most of us would say probably for Polina, I would say, right? So then you have like Kudus for Charlison, Johnson front three, Xavi in behind them, Sar, Bentancur double pivot, and then the usual back line with Spence at left back over Udogie. I think Udogie probably plays midweek. And then obviously Vicario.
My only change from that would potentially be because Bentancur played 180 minutes and Polina only played 22. I could see Polina starting and Bentancur, because Bentancur also didn't have the luxury of coming back early, so he only probably arrived back. I don't even know if he was in the training session today, or if it was, it may have only been light. So I could see maybe Polina in from Bentancur, but other than that, I think you're spot on, Max.
I am going to say the thing that I've said I wanted from the beginning of the podcast, and I'm saying that we get to see Kolo Muani start.
Oh, okay.
I want him. I don't think it'll actually happen. I think we'll see him in more of a reserve role, but I do think we could see Odegaard play. I think that could be the player that starts on the left. I think that this game does not necessarily play to Brennan Johnson's strengths, because I think they will sit so deep, which means he won't have as much space to run into. And I think that we did get better. I think we did look. I think we did look a little bit better when we played with Odegaard against Bournemouth. I think that his ability to kind of be a little bit creative with the ball, make those runs, those like darting runs inside, are exciting and are, I guess, something that we can look to utilize more. So I think that he could be the player that starts on the left over Johnson. If Johnson starts, I won't be upset about it. I'll be interested to see immediately how he plays with Siemens. But
do you have any concerns that Kudus, Simmons, and Odegaard is a little lightweight, or do you think the rest of the team makes up enough for that?
Well, I think Kudus is like
Kudus is not lightweight.
He's a bit of a mule, isn't he? To be fair,
and also like
I know he's a little short, but he is very, very powerful.
Yeah. Brennan's a bit better. He's a bit better as far as his tackling. I wouldn't say he's like amazing out of possession. Like he works hard, but I think there are like lapses with him sometimes. I do see your point though with Otterbear, although I would be fine with him playing. I think regardless, we'll see a good amount of possession. And so yeah, it's kind of like what we're talking about with our squad size, right? And the options we have. Like I think we're pretty happy with a lot of these different. Like I want to see Bergvall get some minutes, man. I think Bergvall comes in whatever game he starts for next for us. Like he looked so good when he came on against Bournemouth. Yeah. He looked like one of the few sparks in that Bournemouth game, even though we couldn't really get it going at all. But I'd be fine with him coming in as well. I'd love to see Archie Gray get more experience at the 6, although maybe not for this game. But yeah, I think that we have a lot of good options and a pretty strong bench. So
no, I do think as much as I kind of am defaulting to last team plus Siemens minus Bentancur or Polina, I would probably lean Polina to be left out, just because like I've mentioned in the past, I kind of don't see him as well suited to these kind of games, but I can totally understand the want to keep Bentancur from falling apart because I like him when he is together. But yeah, I like wasn't even thinking about players like like Bergvall, like Gray. We're gonna have a selection headache with Udogi, Spence, and Porro now. 3, I think, very good wingbacks that I don't think you can. I don't think you could be wrong for leaving any of the 3 of them out.
I think at some point as well, you've got to really start giving Danzo a couple of games. You know? Like he can't just, So yeah.
Dragusin,
he has to play. Draguson's back in training. I was going to say that from the training video. Yeah, I think I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like, I think what you have to do probably is go like for this game. You could do like probably for this game you could do Romero and Danso, let's say, and then for the Villarreal game you do like Danso and Van de Ven. Or like you give like one a rest, you know what I mean, and then put like Danso in the other spot kind of thing, because he can play on the right or the left. But yeah, he does have to start playing eventually, because we obviously want to like not just like keep him happy for the sake of it, but just like make sure he's getting minutes, because he's been great for us so far.
Does anyone see just real quick before we go? Anyone see a 5 at the back?
I think.
It's away.
I don't personally see us running 5 in the back against West Ham. I think that'd be a little bit overly cautious. If we did see that, we would see, I would predict that we would see the craziest version of Christian Romero you ever have seen. I think he might be pressing with Richarlison or Solanke or whoever starts that game. I think he would be
hybrid 6.
Pretty much. Yeah. He'd be a false 9 basically.
Right.
I actually don't think like going away to West Ham and like kind of like stinking it up, like playing pretty compact and deep. I don't think it's actually a bad idea, because it's kind of like how we played against United in the Europa League final. Like you give them the ball, they're probably not going to do that much with it in actual fact. But I would say it's not going to be that enjoyable to watch. And also it's like all of our center backs playing, right? So it's like you don't necessarily like that means that no one's getting rested for Tuesday.
Yeah,
so it's probably going to absolutely butcher this, but I think Jingyu has a very good point. That 5 at the back, that not necessarily.
I was gonna to respond to this, because I was the one who did say that it's a little bit defensive from asking. It's not necessarily that I think that a 5 back can't be defensive. It's just that to leave out, to play 3 at the back. I think one of the players that would be that you would have to leave out would be one of our creative players, and I'd just rather have more options up front to attack through. For example, Odebear or Johnson or Kolumawani or whoever starts on the left, because I think that would probably be, you would assume, who would get left out based on at least how we played against PSG. So I would like to, like, obviously you can still play a very attacking version of football with that, especially with the wing backs that we have. But I think that the way that West Ham play and the talent that we have, I think we have the ability to kind of play like that, but with 2 center backs instead of 3.
And like I was saying earlier too, I think the midfield is the part that we can dominate in this game. So it's kind of like, why give that up, in exchange for the 5 back. So yeah, that's my last point. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'd love to get a first win at London Stadium for quite a while.
That would be,
especially with a nice Kudus brace or something like that. That would be very enjoyable.
Speaking of predicting who will score goals, I think we will finish this off in the It's not necessarily late for us, as this is the American contingent. So for Max and I, it's what, 7?
4-7, yeah.
It's getting a little bit late. It's getting a little bit late for our boy in Kansas City, for Drew, but
it's so good.
we'll try to finish up with some score predictions. I will go first. I am going to predict a debut goal for Xavi Simons. I'm going to predict a ball bouncing around like 8 times and then falling to Bentancur, who I think will get minutes in this game. Actually, no, it's Sarr. If a ball is bouncing around in the box, it will be Sarr that gets to it. And then I think the third goal will be scored by Kolumuani coming on as a sub, and we will win 3-0. What about you, Max?
I really want to like go big, but I'm just like nervous too. I'm gonna say I think we're gonna win by. What did you say?
I said 3-0.
3-0. I'm gonna go 4-0.
Oh,
Just because they lost 3-0. Like I just think this I love
this.
it. Yeah, I love it. I think like they got smacked by Sunderland, which was at Sunderland to be fair, but then they also got walloped by Chelsea. And I think like what we talked about with the Forest result, like I think it was a little bit of a I don't think it was necessarily indicative of like a giant change in form. So I'm going to go 4-0. I'm going to say that Johnson scores 2. And I'm going to say that Xavi scores 1. And I'm going to say that I'm trying to think one of our center backs will score a header. I'm trying to think who. Van de Ven will say.
Wow.
Actually, no, sorry, Romero, because Romero's way better at heading. So let's go Romero.
Cutie.
All right.
Wow.
Finish
Well,
us
I've
off, Drew.
got to
Knock
bring
on wood.
some sort
3-0, a 4-0, and a 5-0.
6.
6.
Come on. This is gonna
I
backfire.
canid do
Yeah,
it.
it is.
God, that seems
Just say like 1-1 or something. You have to like.
Yeah, I was going to go with a Desmond after you guys. I thought I need to bring some reality to proceedings. I don't want it to be. I'd be happy with an away draw, but no, I'm 3. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I'll go. Oh, I'm going to go 4-2.
Ooh,
I like that one.
I'm going to go 4-2.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Lurica.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Rika.
much,
Appreciate
Ulrika.
you.
And we appreciate your predictions.
Yeah.
I would love a Muani hat trick. I've been talking all podcast about how I really want to see him play, and I will keep saying. I'll say that again in case anyone missed it. I want to see Kolumuani play.
Who do you have for the other 2 goals?
For
In
me?
the other chat. No, sorry, for Ulrika.
Oh yeah, Ulrika. What do you?
Muani hat trick, and then who are the other 2? Let's see.
Let's see. Who are we cooking with? Let me see. If I had predicted a Muani hat trick, I feel like you would have to have one be from Simons, right? If we're going for all the new guys scoring.
I'll give Simmons an assist. I think Richarlison bags one and says, "Don't you forget about me."
You could also say like when in a game where you kind of blow them out a little bit, there's usually like a late goal from remember when we like beat Villa at like Villa Park and like Werner came on and go and it like it gets a little charity matchy at the end. Like you could say like Tell comes on and gets like a confidence building goal or something.
Yeah. Or Spence comes on and finishes up a perfect week.
I need a Spence like banger goal at some point this season.
Absolute banger.
They go on my wall.
Based on this, I'm gonna say that it's one of these 2 gets a hat trick, the other one gets a brace, is what I'm assuming is the prediction from her.
Okay.
Hello.
And big up to Gary from Newport Beach. Nice.
Welcome.
Big up,
Hello.
We're in
Gary.
LA, so not too far from you.
Not
A little
too
bit
far.
farther. But still in Cali. But yeah, I think we'll end it off there. Thank y'all for joining us on another episode of the OhSoInternational podcast. It'll be, if anyone has any suggestions, anything they want to see from this more internationally focused podcast, not in terms of the international break, but in terms of international fans, obviously, because I'd say a lot of the streams and stuff are not at times when I can tune into them. So we're trying to make ones that you could. And I could hypothetically if I wasn't, doing them. So yeah, if anyone has any suggestions, feel free to sound off in the comments or in our Discord channel, which is, I believe, if not in I don't think it's in the thing for this video, but it's in any other video for OhSo Spurs. You can go find it anywhere. I believe it's also in our Twitter profile. But if it's not, you didn't hear it from me. But anyways, yeah, we'll end it with a "Come on, you Spurs."
Come on, you Spurs. See you next week. Take it easy.
And now we gotta wait for